Alright guys, so we're back again. We did another video earlier today regarding a few faults on this car, and we actually have a few more to talk about that aren't such a big deal, but we'd like to actually mention them just to give you guys an idea of what there is. But we're going to go through the whole car. I've only driven 220 miles on it, so we don't have a full review to give on you on this vehicle right now, but we're going to give a full review based on what we know about it in the 225 miles. Number one, the car is definitely a looker. Beautiful car. I've seen others up close, and some of these have had some paint issues. A lot of fisheye in the paint, and the shine is not great. From what I've heard, there's a new paint facility that they're painting these at, and the finish on this one, I would say, is about 95% perfect. There is a 5% small flaws here and there where the shine isn't great, but it's minimal. You can really just enjoy the paint for what it should be. Again, these cars are all fiberglass for the most part, and when you paint fiberglass, it's different than metal. The shine will be slightly different, but they did a very good job on these. They're coming out now, I believe, with that new paint place. But so the first thing I want to touch on is fit and finish on the car. Fit and finish on the car is not perfect. There are a few little flaws where the panels don't meet up with each other or a little bit further out than the one next to it, but it's minimal. You can barely tell, but there are some minor deflections on the panels. But overall, it's actually pretty damn good for a first-year production car. As everybody knows, first-year production cars usually have a bunch of issues. So far, so good. But you can see right here where the gap is a little bit bigger at the top than it is at the bottom. You can barely tell. But if you look right up in here, there's a little bit more gap right in here. And then these two panels are off by a hair. So little things here and there that if you come up close to the car, you will be able to tell. The paint at the bottom on these rockers is not as shiny as, let's say, the side of the car. So there are some issues with the paint, but it is, again, minor for a first-year production on a fiberglass body. Now, a few things that I wanted to touch on. Getting in and out of the car. All right, so that's usually the biggest concern for most people in these smaller, lower cars. Getting in and out. Now, I like to drive as close as I can to the steering wheel. It just gives me all the control that I need on the car. For me to get in and out, as soon as I'm getting in, I touch this bolster with my left leg. Getting out, I gotta actually use my elbow to pull myself out of the car. Now, I weigh about 205 pounds. I'm 5'9". So I can tell you right now, from other sports cars in the past, this bolster will take a pounding as time goes by. So I'm hoping they reinforce that bolster there, and that the material's thick enough to hold up to some of the time, at least 4 or 5 years of use. And then of course you just have that one section reupholstered and you're good to go. That happens to a lot of sports cars. I've had a few that I've had to do it too. But I can tell you it is a task. Getting in and out is not the easiest thing on earth. As far as the dash goes, my son is the one videotaping, of course, we've realized the color of the interior. We chose the red. The red is not as bright as it looked online when we ordered it. It's actually a duller red, which we love. It's not a very bright red, which we were kind of afraid that it would be, and it would just be too much, but it is perfect. If any of you guys were afraid to order the red in the past because of the brightness of the red, I'm telling you right now, this is not bad at all. The brightness of the red on the interior on this one is actually a little bit duller, and it works great with the red exterior. Some people had mentioned that online, that they were afraid of the red before, but definitely go for it if you really want that combination of the black with the red. Now, there is a two-tone interior that comes red and black. I don't like it at all. It dulls out the interior. It does not give the vehicle what it's supposed to have on the interior. This is, I truly believe this gives the car the most supercar interior look that I've seen, without going to competition seats, which everybody's complaining that they're extremely uncomfortable and real tight, which I do want to say, the bolsters on the bottom, these two down at the sides here, this seat is actually quite narrow. Now, I'm not the widest guy, but I'm also not the narrowest guy. I can tell you it's a pretty tight fit on that section there. It does not need to be squeezed in or anything. It works just fine, but it is a little bit, it does cut into the leg a little bit. The controls in the center console, they take a little getting used to, but to be honest with you, there's not much to really mess around with in there. You turn the AC on, and realistically, there's not much more to touch on there, unless you're going into the air-conditioned seats or the heated seats or whatever you're going to do. We touched on the radio earlier, on the radio knob. If you want to see that video, that radio knob needs to be moved. It's horrifying where it's at. You got to touch a bunch of stuff accidentally as you get to it, and it's really just not where it should be. The wheel itself, I actually had to hire it a little bit to be able to get access in and out of the car. So I raised it a little bit with the automatic raising, with the electric raise on the steering wheel, and it works just fine. The visual, when you're inside the car, sitting in the car, looking out the front is spectacular. There's no issues out the front, out the side. You can see everything. Problem you're going to have is looking out the back. There is no looking out the back in this car. You need to use your rear view mirror, which is a camera on the back of the car. You need to use your side view mirrors. You got to access all your cameras and mirrors to be able to back up. There is no way to look out the back glass and actually be able to do any kind of backing up on this car. As far as the trunk goes, or the motor, there are vents up here, which everybody has touched on. I just wanted to touch on it real quick again. But water gets in there. There's no way to keep that compartment clean. I mean, I don't care what you do. You can clean this thing, and the next day it's going to be dirty. You get dirt, dust. I got palm trees all over the area here, so they drop like this little fuzzy stuff, and it gets into those little vents, and it's all over. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be some sort of a fix to that in the near future for the next models. It just does not work 100%. Great for ventilation, horrible for the compartment because there's no way to keep it clean. We took the top off the other day and placed it in the back. It was the first time we actually placed it back here. It wasn't too difficult to put in, but you do need to kind of shift it to the right or the left to be able to make sure that you get these little pins right where the top goes, and then you do have to give it a good push. Once they're in that section, you got to push that top up against that, and you'll hear it click. Once it clicks, you're good to go. But I highly recommend the cover. Get the cover, guys. I've already ordered it, and I think it's the best $100 and whatever that you can spend on it, because when we were putting it in, we realized that you're probably going to end up scratching it if you don't get that cover. What else is there, Frankie, about the vehicle? What do you think? Oh, the black sections of the car do have all that glittery look to it. It's very shiny. I think they did a great job on that color. I just don't know how easy it's going to be for a body shop to match that color if you ever have an issue, scratches, since it is on the lower sections of the car. But it is really nice, and it really does shine the way it should. Now, as far as the wheels go, on that previous video, we talked about the rust on these rotors, and it is horrifying. And we have driven about maybe 10 miles, and there's still rust on these rotors from previous days. It had rained here, and it gets really deep up in there in the rotors. I'm going to bring that to the attention of the dealership tomorrow maybe. And I just wanted to let you know, your wheels will never be clean. You can wash them right now, and as you're washing, those rotors are going to get rusted, and all that rust dust is going to get on the wheels as soon as you drive off, and your wheels will never look clean. It's probably the worst thing that I've noticed with the vehicle. I'm a clean freak, and unfortunately for me to not be able to keep them clean, that's a big deal to me. Now, my son videotaping right now, he is actually 16 years of age, and tell me, Frankie, what do you think about the getting in and out and the vehicle overall?
It's not that hard for me to get in and out.
Here, let me videotape you so you can actually show getting in and out. Now, this is the passenger side, of course. It's a little easier, and he does have that seat pushed back quite a bit. He does not like to be up close to the dash. But, you know, he's slightly taller than me at this point. He's almost 5'10". So he's comfortable getting in and out. I did get these mats for the vehicle. These are the all-weather mats, and they are spectacular. They're not a plastic material. They are more of a rubbery material. They don't slip and slide while you're getting in and out. And it is just, I mean, for the money, you just can't beat it. And they are from General Motors. They do work out perfectly, and they fit perfect in the vehicle. I didn't even have to take out the floor mats. I actually set it right on top of the floor mats, and they do not shift or have any issues being in there just the way they are, even though the manufacturer does tell you to take out the floor mats to put those in. I can tell you I've had no issues with that. Now, here's something I noticed earlier today when I opened the frunk. It does get extremely hot in here. It's actually hot right now. So it does get extremely hot in here. So whatever you're gonna take in there, make sure you don't have like any power bars or anything inside a duffel bag in there if you're going anywhere, because it does get very hot in there. I'm not sure if there's an insulation situation where they couldn't insulate it further, but it does get quite hot in that section. Road noise. Road noise is actually very good in this car, and I thought I'm pretty impressed. Very minimal road noise. When you do pop the AC up all the way, it kind of feels like you're getting a sound of AC in the back of glass behind you. It's kind of hitting the glass and coming back at you, and you hear like a little wind noise, but it's not even a wind noise. It's kind of like just air circulating, but that's only when you put the AC all the way up and you're driving. You're going to think maybe the window's a little bit down, but it's not. It's just the AC blowing and kind of coming off that glass in the back. Right now, that's all I really have to say about the vehicle. I mean, we love it. It's spectacular. Haven't been able to drive it much. We're hoping to take a trip in it and be able to come back to you guys and give you more information on the car, certain features. This particular one, we did get the high wing with it. Unfortunately, the dealership did not get it in time for the delivery. They have promised me to get me that wing. It was on my window sticker, so I did pay for it. So we're hoping this wing comes in the next month or so. We definitely want to install that wing. We've seen a few out there with the wing, and they look spectacular. But we will come back at you after that trip, or even during the trip, and give you an update on the vehicle and what we keep thinking of the vehicle. So far, so good. Excellent car.